Okay, so this is a recap of today's daily healing prompt guided adventure, which is on daily healing prompt number 160, which was all about taking control of my, as in your life back, and delivering divine justice as well. And it kind of got me thinking about like whenever we went into the prompt, I was like, it reminds me of when, just an example, what the first one that came to my mind, random but not so random because it had something to do with this. But it's like, I don't know, there was this like 150 pound at work at aviation. I work in aviation, and it was like 150 pound solid block of titanium. So very heavy. Fucking 150 pounds. And so I was like inspecting it, and I was like, okay, where do y'all want me to put this? And they were like, oh, we'll take it. Like, it's so heavy. You need to, whatever. And I was like, that's not what I asked. I asked y'all, where do y'all want me to put this? Oh my God, like, we don't want you to hurt your back. Oh my God. Like, there was like 3 separate people telling me all this at once. And I was like, tell me where you want this so you can bring it out to the plane. Oh, yeah, like, I'm just concerned. Like, I don't want you to hurt your back and like, all this weird shit. And I was like, get the fuck away from me. Anyway, that's what it made me think of. Is like people thinking that they know you better than you, I guess is the best way to put it. And then like taking control, like taking over and doing it because you just don't know what you're doing. And then, like some people like it. Some people like that other people do that. But it's, as we went in further to it, it was like we can see the energy behind it. We can see, because Kat was like, if this were Shaden or Ben and they were like, hey, like I'll take that piece of metal, you'd be like, hell yeah. And it's like, yeah, because their purpose is to go and bring it out to the plane and do whatever with it. They're going to machine it. They're going to make it into what it needs to be. But it's whenever the intentions are that they're helping me, or like they know better than me, or they're just going to take over, like just gross. And so like it took all of us to some form or version of that. And then Jennifer talked about how people would do that to her with horse trailers. And then Angel was talking about how people do that to her at work. And then Holly and then Des and Marjorie, they're all getting the same thing. And how it all was basically the same thing. It's like somebody else thinking that they know more than you about you. And every time each one of us would talk about an experience or like talk about something that was done, it was unraveling it and healing it from the bottom up, basically. And then we were all like, well, wouldn't this kind of be related to like gender? Like like each gender, once we're born, we get like, like a rule book almost. And it's like, cool, anybody that likes that kind of stuff, they can have it. But why put it on the individual person? And then we started talking about like period blood and stuff like that, and going into like cups and ways to like alleviate that. And then yeah, Kat was like, basically after like 3 days, I basically tell my body to stop. And I was like, same. I'm just like, no, girl, we're done. And then we were talking about everybody's experiences with cup. And then I started talking about how like, if men were to cry, then people tell them, you're a guy, you're not supposed to cry. So we like dismantled basically like this like rule book thing. And then Kat was like, it's almost like it keeps people at the sides from one extreme to the other extreme of like, because Kat was like, I don't know, if anybody asked me or if anybody said to me, where do you want me to put this? Then, other people around me would be like, oh, here, let me take that, or let me do this, blah, blah. And I would say yes. And then I gave an example of how I also do that, but it just depended. It depended on what it was and the circumstances behind it. And she was like, so it's almost like a spinning thing. She's like, those gravitron machines where you get like pushed to the side as it spins. It's what it reminds me of. So it's like a electromagnetic force that pushes people to one end or the other instead of being neutral, and like pushing people to one extreme or the other of like needing to experience this a certain way and that a certain way. And I like when these types of discussions happen and everybody kind of builds off of each other, because it gets a lot of stuff unraveled, and then it's like we all tackle it, and it's really cool. I just really like it because a group effort. And then at the very end of it, as we were talking about like period stuff, I went into the store. Kat was like, "Hey, tell the story about you bleeding all over the front of your pants whenever you were in middle school." And I was like, "Oh yeah, whenever I was in middle school, I would constantly bleed all over the front of my pants, but nobody, like everybody was really weird about telling me. They would like tell me really quietly and be like, "Hey, you have blood on your pants," but then they wouldn't have. There would be no follow through, so I didn't know what they were wanting. I didn't know what they were wanting me to do, and so I would just be like, "I do, yes, that it is true." And then everybody's faces in the class got really like quiet or awkward. And then Kat was like, "Hey, why did y'all's faces become weird? Like, why did this happen?" Because Kate was telling it, and there was no like connotation on it. There was no. It was very neutral because that's how I felt. Is like I did not care. And then Des was like, "I just feel really bad because nobody told you anything." And I was like, "Yeah, because they didn't actually care. They didn't actually care." And that's the theme of the class. Is that taking control and, you know, delivering divine justice. You know, like taking control of my life back. And then Kat was like, "I wonder if you did that in order to ward off, like, predators." And I was like, "Oh, for sure." Because then I told a story about how I was, you know, a predator. But, like, that was pretty constant in my childhood were predators. So it's like, I mean, I'm sure through every girl's childhood, or a lot. But yeah, it was a super interesting class, as they always are. So it's just really cool. And, yeah. Okay, bye-bye.